Hi everybody, welcome to Linkus. I'm so happy to be there with you. Today we're going to talk about the third episode of Sanditon season 3. It's the final last season of Sanditon. We are so sad about it. But basically I'm going to talk about what happened on this episode, give my opinion, what I think about this. It refers, as usual, it refer to something that I've read before about Jane Austen's book or another film. It's true that Regency in the UK is quite a new thing. It's not a new thing, but it's kind of trendy right now, especially with Bridgerton and a lot of Regency TV series. I think that, yeah, it's quite something that it's trendy. So basically, yes, this episode is quite interesting because we don't have this slow motion that I was talking about on episode 1 and 2. I thought that it was quite slow. The intrigue was quite slow, especially the tension between Charlotte and Mr. Colburn. I think it was quite slow. But this episode 3 is quite interesting because we have the trial of Georgiana. So for those who haven't seen the episode 2, I might advise you to do it. So basically, we at the end we have Mr. Lockhart who is claiming Georgina's fortune, right? And this season 3, the episode 3 is opening on the trial in England of Georgina. She's, I think Charlotte and Mrs. Tom Parker is with her. They are with her. And I think it was quite interesting because at one of the first sentence that I don't remember if it's Tom Parker who's talking about this or is it like the lawyer of Georgiana who is Mr. Colburn's brother. They say a sentence like, in England, no, you have to believe this, it's in England, justice prevail. And I thought it was quite interesting because I think in America we had the kind of same thing, like at each time, each TV series or whatever, they had this kind of thing when they say, it's we are in America, everything is possible. For example, I don't know if you guys you've seen what is the name, The Gilded Age, which is American TV drama which aired last year. It's a very very good TV series. It was 8 episodes, I think 9. It basically talk about the Gilded Age, as the name shows, and it's very good. But at the end, we have like a group of servants, and they're just looking at those rich people and all those very very wealthy and fortunate people during the Gilded Age, and they say it might be possible that we are them because we're in America, you know. I like English people in America always like put their country, in front of, like in Europe more, it's not really like the same thing, but each time in America we had this, like, it's in America, like we know that everything can happen, at the end. Some people will not be happy because they will say, oh, just like perpetuating the American dream, the American doesn't exist, whatever. Each person is entitled to their own opinion, of course. But I think it was quite interesting to see this in the beginning of this episode 3. She's like, oh, in England, justice prevail. You have to trust, English law. We know what we do. I think it was quite interesting. We have also another sequence where we have the new family coming from Bath. They're basically ruined. I think it's Mrs. Montreux, and she's talking with her kids. Obviously, she wants her kids to marry well, so that she can escape herself from the difficult situation that she's facing because she doesn't have any money. So I think the first plan or the third scheme was to push her son to marry Georgina because Georgina is wealthy. I mean, this is in question in the beginning of the episode 3, and I'm going to tell you the second plan after. But the first plan was this, and of course she's very distraught, in a bad state, because she realized that Georgiana, maybe she's going to lose her fortune. So she's quite embarrassed. I will not say embarrassed, but she's quite worried about what is going to happen to her. And she said something that's really interesting because her children are teasing her in any way possible, and she's just like, "Oh, stop plucking on my nerves. Like, stop doing this on my nerves. And I think it was quite the sentence of of the mother of the five girls. I don't remember her first name, but she was Mrs. Bennet. Mrs. Bennet. We don't know her first name. I don't think. Maybe in the books. I don't remember. But Mrs. Bennet. It was very this, and she was like. She was, oh, you always get on my nerve because she wants to marry her five daughters in order for her to have somewhat of a money. That's why she's pushing, especially the first one, Jane, who is beautiful, to marry quickly and of course right. To have what in France we call a beau mariage. And so when she's saying this, when Mrs. Montreux is saying, "Oh, stop getting on my nerves," I think it was quite a kind of in French we'll say a clin d'œil. It was quite a reference to Pride and Prejudice and Mrs. Bennet. So that's quite interesting. The trial is very hard. It's very harsh on Georgiana. I think we can see also how despair is Mr. Lockhart, because I think that in season 2 he was just not an interest for me. I have no interest whatsoever in artists, and especially broke ones. I think I knew that their romance, there was something off in their romance in season 2. I knew it. I don't know how to explain it. And I'm not surprised of his behavior during the court trial. I think he behaved like a broke artist that he is, with no shame, no dignity to attack a woman in this sort. So I think that I'm not surprised, but at the same time, I'm very surprised in how they're discussing about race, because we're in the time where I think slavery is already abolished. It was abolished by English law. I think it's one of the first colony to do this, if I'm not mistaken. But I think I'm quite shocked by how he addresses race in this trial. Yeah, his goal is really to put her down in any kind of way. So I was a bit surprised about this, especially when he's going further by describing how she's a low kind of birth, even if she has more money than which makes no sense because you are basically coming after her money, but whatever. So we're quite like shocked about what is happening. I'm just like, yeah, that's quite hard. At the same time, I think that Mr. Colvin brother is doing an amazing job with what he has, as it proves. But that was not a good moment for me. And especially what is pushing Georgiana, because after what happened, and because behind the trial is not only the worry that she's facing, because of course she's sad because Mr. Lockwood is somebody that she has a kind of romance with, but also the fact that she's quite worried about her future and her family, especially the fact that she hasn't married yet. And at the moment of the episode, they say she's the talk of the season. But not in a good way, not in the Bridgerton way. Because in Bridgerton, they're facing some difficulties, of course, but saying that she's the talk of the season is the diamond, right? Chosen by the queen. So it's not this kind of talk. And we can see especially a scene when she's coming back with everybody and everybody's looking at her. And then Charlotte is taking her hand and telling them that we have to go. It's better we go. So I think that that's quite difficult. And the trial made me think about another film. I don't know if you heard about it. It's Belle. I think the main actress is Gugu Mbatha-Raw. She's an English actress, and I really like it. And I especially went to Scone Palace in order to see one of the. They had the original painting, because it really it's actually a real story. Belle was basically the daughter of a English, I think, captain and a slave at the moment of slavery. She was born, but her father wanted to protect her, so he decided to take her to his uncle. And the uncle, I think, is one of the brilliant and the most famous lawyer at the time, and his exercise in the court, the trial. And I think it's about a case about the Zong, where basically, I don't remember really the story. Of course, if you know the story better than me, you can write it in the comment section. But basically, the talk was I think it's what happened is what a ship. They had some slaves, and what happened is like they had a huge storm, and what happened, I think, is in order to save the ship, um, some English man decided to kill the slaves and to throw them down the water in the sea. And arriving in England, they say that they had a problem, but they didn't say. I think that they lost some casualties, some slaves, and I think after that, the English state decided to give them money in terms of assurance. So it was a big thing. I don't remember really the story. Sorry, but basically Belle's story is about this. So Belle is growing up, in her uncle house. He's very famous. They have a lot of money. But then when times come, she wants to get married because she grew up with her white cousin, and her uncle is saying it's not the thing for you. It's not what is going to happen. And she say why? Because she wanted to get married, of course, and he's saying that because of her color it's not possible. So among that, when she grew up, they made, because in very wealthy families you had the possibility to have your portrait. So this portrait was drawn, I think, in the 18th century, and you have the original of the painting in Scone Palace. So I actually went to Scone. I thought arriving in this town, this is just a personal story and personal, story about my travelings. But I went to Scone just to see this painting in, I think, in Scone Palace. Arriving there, and because the country's named Scone, I wanted to eat scone. And arriving there, I'm entering in a bakery. Sorry about that. And the woman is saying that there's no scone. And I was just like, what? But it's Cone. The name of the city is Cone. I don't understand why you don't have scones. And everybody knows that I love scone. I actually ate one today because one member of my family went to London and get me some. So I'm so happy about it. But I was like, where is scone? And you told me there's no scone. I was just like, hmm, it's quite strange. I didn't know what to think about this, but I was quite amazed. But coming back to the story, sorry for this digression. So yes, the trial made me think about Belle. We have also this kind of scene. So coming back to Sanditon, so yeah, Mr. Lockhart made really distasteful, disgraceful, sorry, remark on the plantation. I mean, basically, he's saying everything to get the money. So that shows a lot about his character. In the meantime, at the end, the court went well, and Georgiana she won, but she won by saying the truth, because they kind of telling him story about her dad, the fact that he didn't like her mother, then he sold her as a slave to another family, and it, sorry, all the stories, she didn't know anything about it. She's quite confused, but at the end she's just looking at the judge and she's telling him that she had no idea about what his father has done. She's looking for her mother because people told her that her mother is alive. So she's kind of confused and she doesn't know what, but she's kind of convincing him, and at the end she's able to keep the money because at the same time Mr. Lockwood has some proof were not prevalent. It was not really based on the true facts, so that's why he lost the trial. But at the end of the trial, so we have basically a conversation between Charlotte and Mr. Tom Parker. I think it's a very, very interesting conversation. Why? Because I think it's really something that we can put in our society today with everything that has happened. So basically, I'm just describing the scene. So we have Charlotte who's saying to Mrs. Tom Parker that she really felt a sense of pursuit when she's listening to the trial. She's like, that's why I wanted to become a governess. I wanted to transmit something. I wanted to pursue my dream. I wanted to be able to have a sense of self. And Mrs. Tom Parker is telling her that I understand completely. She's basically saying that she got married at 30, which is quite old at the time. I don't know if I think it's a kind of error in the history because it was not possible at that time. If we're really talking about what happened in Sanditon in the 80s, I think it's just not possible in the 30s. So I think it's just a mistake in the script. So I think 18 will be better, but 30 is quite old, especially I think at the time people didn't live that much. So basically she's telling him that um yeah, she's telling Tom Parker that she wants a sense of pursuit, and this is Tom Parker is saying, I completely understand because I got married so late, I didn't know what I really wanted. But then after she has they realize that Tom Parker, her husband, basically wants to ruin to I think to break one part of the town in order to build more hotel in order to make more profits, because at the end of the day his project was Sanditon. Cindy Parker died part of it for me, but he wanted really. I mean, I think Tom Parker is more like a daydream. He's really dream about. I think he's more dreamer than a doer. If that makes sense, he's not somebody who's going. That's why I don't understand, and I hope Archer is going to help him, because Sydney was like this. Sydney was really a doer. He wanted to do things. He was very good at doing things. Tom Parker is more a dreamer. He's dreaming about the city of Sanditon. He's dreaming about the hotel, how they look like. I think he's very good at conceptualizing things and not really do things. That's why I'm a bit worried, and that's why he has so many debt and so many problems in the bank, because we have this kind of people where they ain't able to do things. They are just good at conceptualize. That's why they have, and I do believe that people have to do what they're good at doing. Don't do things that you're not good at doing, because at the end of the day, it's not going to work. Um, so I was quite shocked about the discussion, if we say the dispute between Tom Parker and Mrs. Tom Parker and his wife, because basically he was just saying, like, his wife was like, you're going really to break one part of the town in order to get more profit. He doesn't think it's a good idea, because at the end of the day it's the population who is going to make what is Sanditon is the shops, is the atmosphere, is what people help each other. And basically, Mrs. Tom Parker is losing, like, she's disrespect him in a way, because she basically, it's not the fact, because I think people think that because it's just the fact she voiced her opinion, and again they're going in this feminism thing, talking that because you voice your opinion you cannot voice your opinion, that you're not a true woman. It's not about that. She's disrespectful because she is telling him that he's wrong in front of everybody. That's the problem, especially in a married couple. You don't say anything. It's when you two are together you say, like, honey, I disagree with what you're saying. I don't think it's a good idea. I think it's going to do this. What do you think about this? Like, would you say more? You say, I feel that it's going to do this. What do you think about this? I think it's the way it really happened. So, and I think that Mrs. Stopaker was kind of influenced by what Charlotte was saying, about the fact that I don't want to get married. I think what Charlotte was basically saying, that I don't want to get married because I'm afraid that I'm going to lose my sense of pursuit. And again, I think it's a very confusion that women nowadays we have. Sorry, again, I'm going to talk about womanism, feminism, or whatever. I'm sorry, I don't know exactly the terms, but I think that our generation, we kind of blessed in many ways, and I think sometimes we forgot our blessing, because we are able to walk. We're to walk, of course. We're able to work. Sorry, we're able to do so many things that our grandmother was not able to do. It was much more difficult. But again, we are just focusing ourselves in the wrong and the things that is not important. So I'm just like, I don't know. I was like, how come pursuing your sense of self? Of course, there are careers who are much more difficult, and that of course you're going to have to make much more sacrifices in order to have a family and a husband. But you choose this career, so you have to kind of understand where it's coming from. But again, we always think that it's something different. It's not something different. Like, you can grow your career and again have a family and a husband. Maybe not family, but her husband, And each thing's at the path. Some women decide to have the babies and then their career. Some people have the career after the babies. But we have to stop putting this in confrontation, because I think it goes together. There are very, very few women who are really happy by being by themselves and not having a family. And I think that women, we have to be honest with each other and understand that we can do both. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be at the same time, but we can do both. And not forgetting, sorry, that we are blessed in our generation, because our great grandmother was much more difficult. And feminism is also having the choice, Do you want to be a full independent woman, or do you want to be what the people call traditional, even if it doesn't make any sense for me, Because before our mother, they didn't have the choice. They didn't have feminism. So I think we have to be blessed about everything that we have right now, and the fact that we're not in war with men. We need each other to get better, to build some families, strong families, but to get this world better for the kids. I think it's very important to remember that. So I was kind of sad about this scene and the fact that Charlotte influenced Mrs. Tom Parker and the way she disrespected Tom. I think it was not necessary. You could have said that, in private. There's nothing to be done about it, and especially when they are at this poorhouse, giving some gift and biscuits. She's basically she's hearing about what they're planning to do and she's upset, but treat this upset, treat your emotions and then tell him that in private, not in front of everybody, because just Charlotte is telling you that you want to voice your opinion. I think that really shows how stupid some people are sometimes by saying that I'm telling my opinion, I'm right because I'm telling my opinion, I'm a feminist because I cannot say my opinions. You think that I'm not a feminist. It's not about that, sweetie. It's not about that. It's just about politeness and the way we're civil in society. There are things that we cannot say in front of everybody. You cannot say everything in front of your man while everybody's listening to him, because it's disrespect. That's all. It's between both two. And same. It's not even with her husband. Sometimes in families, you disagree with one member of your family. You're not going to do this in front of everybody. You're going to do this in private. Like, I disagree about what you said at this moment. I don't feel it was necessary to go that hard on her, etc. And don't say this in front of everybody. It's just my opinion. So this scene was quite sad for me. Then we have another scene. When we have, I told you that the daughter of Mrs. Montreux. So because Georgiana was at the edge of losing her fortune, Mrs. Montreux decided to push her daughter in the arm of Mr. Colburn, right? At a moment, the daughter of Mrs. Montreux, she's telling Charlotte, like, oh, I think that I'm really in love with, I really like Mr. Colburn. My mother thinks that we could be a good match. What do you think about him? He seems really reversed. And at this time, Charlotte, who is definitely in love with him, she's saying, like, of course he's opening to everybody. And I didn't like what she said. I think you could have, don't, just because you don't want to face your emotions and what you feel about Mr. Colburn, you don't need to kind of pushing another woman towards him, because you're just going to cry. And again, it's something that I don't like, because I think so many women, again, they're just they're how to explain it, they don't process their emotion and they're not honest with them. That's why sometimes they're walking past or passing towards, I don't know what to say exactly, but they're just missing some great experiences, with people, just because they're not honest with themselves about their feelings, But Charlotte can be really nice with her, because she's in a difficult situation. She decided to engage herself with somebody else, so she made a promise, which I understand at the time was a huge deal. Now, no, but I understand. But I think she could have handled the situation differently. Just my opinion, okay? Another scene that I want to talk about is about, oh my god, Edward Dunham and Augusta Markham. So as I told you, I really like the dynamic of the soul couple. There's nothing that really is similar to, for example, Edward and Esther. Esther was definitely pick me to Edward, that's why it didn't work. She was just looking after him, cuddling after him, following him. She kind of lost all her dignity and self-esteem that she had with Edward. That's why it didn't work. Each time you're doing this, girls, it doesn't work. The behavior that she adopted with Mr. Lord Babington is the behavior that made her wife, at the end of the day. So you will never get something good by cutting your self-esteem and your dignity, for sure. But Edmund and Augusta is quite a different dynamic, because I told you Augusta is she has a wit mind and she's very malicious. Edward is the same, so we kind of seeing this two faces of the same coin. I think that Augusta is very clear about Edward. Why do I call it Edmund? It's like I'm in the House of the Dragon. No, not Edmund. Edward. Vices, and she accepted because she knows that she has some. Same for Edward. He's really aware of Augusta's vices and he liked them. What happened is that that scene was so good because Augusta, she declared herself to him, but not in the way that you're going to declare to somebody. She made him understand that she was very interested, in him, that he needed to do something in order to win her because there are other suitors. And the way she pushed him was very feminine, very malicious, very, very her, I will say. He understood and he went to Mr. Colburn in order to ask for Augusta's hand. I don't think he asked for her hand in marriage. I think he just asked to be able to court her, which is something that people nowadays don't understand. I think that people nowadays date. No, they court in rather than they date. So of course you're going to tell me, what is the difference between the two? The difference between the two, date is just to be able, you go on a date, you try to get to know people, to understand what they like, would it be possible to have a good match. So whether you're doing this online or in real time, dating is this. Courting is like, have dated this person, this person is a great fit for you. Basically, you claim this person in your head. You want this person to be your wife, and you're going to call her. So you're going to make all this declaration, roses, gifts, whatever. And I think before people understand what is courting, now no. So if people who are dating right now are listening to me, there is difference between courting and dating. But Edward is just asking Mr. Corbyn for Augusta, for the possibility of courting Augusta. And I think Mr. Corbyn said that, according to his reputation, it's just not possible, because at the end of the day, he had a kind of love affair with his half sister that made Clara pregnant on the floor of Mrs. Dunham, then running and engaging himself in the military after this poor decision, and then coming out of the military and not helping raise his child. That's a lot, which I understand Mr. Corbyn's reaction to this. I was like, okay, I do understand. So this was a scene I was but as we say, like previous four of episode 4, we see that they basically going to, Edward is not losing, like Augusta is for him a game changer. I'm just going to tell the truth, I think Edward have just seen, like, the dynamic, for example, between Edward and Clara was just vice. There's no respect or whatever, Esther is the same, they're a placeholder. But Augusta is a game changer. She's much more younger than him. She understands his vices and she also respects him. The same goes with him, with her. Sorry, he's respecting her. He understands how her mind is working. There is a communion, I think, in spirits and cleverness. That's why they kind of suit each other, are made for each other, according to me. We have one of the last scene with Archer Parker with the son of Mrs. Muncher. So basically, the son of Mrs. Muncher is declaring himself being homosexual, although he's going to court Georgiana, who has to be married. She has to marry, even if like she has a fortune. People are talking too much. She's more than 21. She has to get married. And basically, he's asking for Archer because Archer doesn't have a wife. Like, what they're doing together, is he interested? So I thought that Archer was with Georgiana. I think he's really good for her. I think he is understanding her. He's a friend to her. So I don't understand why they I don't know if the writers want to go on this path. But I kind of don't understand why we are going on the path with the character of Archer. I'm not really like pleased about that, but whatever. So that's quite interesting. So yes, this episode has, sorry, I'm a bit like short breath because I don't know, maybe I had to, yeah, I was kind of running, so that's why I think my heart is racing a bit and I'm in short breath. But many things happened in this season 3. Yeah, of course, we have this scene of Charlotte and Mr. Colburn, who finally declared himself as the suitor that he is for Charlotte. So we're very happy again that this tension is released, because 3 episodes I think is too much, because we know at the same time what is happening. So he's basically telling her that he's in love with her, he wants her to stay, and she's kind of pushing him back, saying that she's going to get married. She made a promise, which is not a real excuse for me. I know that promise was something very important at the time, but I think I'm going to be a bit harsh, but I think you already messed up your promise by having this kind of seduction game with Mr. Colburn. This side game, the fact that the way you look at each other, the way you sense each other, the way you touch each other, the way you communicate to each other, I think everything is already betrayal to Ralph. If you really wanted not to keep your promise, you would have left Sanditon a while ago, even if Georgiana had problem, or you would have limited your interaction with Mr. Colburn. I think it's not the same. Again, ladies, I'm talking to ladies. Don't pretend otherwise. Don't pretend that you don't like somebody. Don't pretend you don't care. If the person is not sharing your feeling, you will see it. I swear to you, you will see it. So I was like, yeah, I hope for her that she's going to have a good ending, because as I said, she can lose both of them. She can lose Ralph, who's going to realize that he was made a fool, and she can lose Mr. Colburn because there is another woman who's coming after him. So again, I think that Charlotte has to face her emotion. She's already betraying Ralph by all this game of sight, of touching, of speaking to each other. They're just like declaring themselves by looking at the way they look at each other. It's crazy. So there's no way you're going to maintain the marriage by the way you're looking at him. And especially on previous season, episode 4, I can see that, what? Oh, Ralph is coming to Sanditon? So I hope he will be able to see, because some people can see, and to remove himself from the game. And I hope Charlotte will be able to recognize her feeling to Mr. Colburn. If she really wants to pursue a career, she can still be a governess and be married. depending after before having kids. I think there's always a way. At the same time, we have Leo. He's very young, so you can also transmit a lot to a child because he doesn't have a mother. You know. So I hope she will stop this bullshit, which is quite annoying, and I hope she will claim her man and she will stop. Because at the same time, she's just playing with Rolf. Well, I think that's what she understands, and many, I see many women again in this situation. You don't want to hurt the person, but you're just hurting them every day by not saying the truth, by not reminding true to who you are, by not doing this, that. It's always the same thing. So again, be true to who you are. Stop hurting people more than you already hurt them, and everything will be fine. So, guys, I hope you like it. It's very late from my side, but I hope you like this the third podcast on Sanditon. Of course, I'm going to make for each episode until the end. I think we have 6 episodes from Sanditon, so we are already of half of the final season. What do you think would going to happen? I think that Edward and Augusta will find a way. I hope Charlotte and Mr. Colburn will find a way. I hope that Georgiana will find a way. And I don't know to be married, but to obtain whatever she wants. I hope Sanditon will be a huge success, even if it already has. It already is a big success. I hope we have more intrigue with new characters. As to episode 3, I think the episode 3 was one of the best episodes since the beginning, and I hope it's going to only get better and better. And I don't want any suspense at the end. I want really a happy ending because the 2 first season was very difficult indeed. So thank you very much for listening. I hope you liked it. If you like this podcast, you can put the thumbs up and subscribe. Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye bye.